All right, Ex2, and now we're gonna cover camera. So the camera, as we created last time, you can create up here, or you can drop down a camera like this, and it will be created in the center of the scene. Usually you want to drop it down through the viewport, because then you have more control of where it lands and stuff. But yeah. So to access the camera, you can go here to this yellow drop down here and go to cam. To rename the camera, you can just type camera or whatever you want. But just be careful that the camera that the mantra node will pick up is cam 1 by default. So you have to actually find it here in the drop down in the mantra and put it. Another thing that you can do on the camera is change the resolution of your image. The default is 720p or 1280 by 720. The resolution of an image is actually handled by the camera by default. You can override it on the mantra node, but usually you want to switch this. If you want to render it in full HD, for example, you can switch it here. If you want to render it in like Vista 4K, you switch it here as well. So let's see if we switch it to this. It's actually going to render in full HD. You can also adjust focal lengths, aperture, the clipping of it. This is all very standard stuff that goes into every 3D package for the cameras. You can crop it. You can do screen size for doing, sometimes comp wants like additional pixels at the edges, or it's called overscan. And that's what you do here with the screen window size. In the sampling, you can control the shutter time, which has to do with motion blur. So a longer shutter time means that more of the image is captured, which means that more motion blur. So the longer shutter time, the more motion blur generally you will get. The focus distance is focus distance basically. In the render, you can do not so much. In the transform, however, here's where you want to do any animation, for example. So if you want to like keyframe this to like pan or pivot or whatever, you can keyframe it by holding Alt and clicking, and you will keyframe all of these. If you just want to keyframe one, you can hold Alt and click the representative axis. So if I want to keyframe the, let's say, X-axis, I click it. I can then go like this. Oh no, I can't, because I have to click this, the lock, to be able to control it. I can then click it like this, and I can keyframe is, regardless, let's delete this and let's keyframe all. So if you want to keyframe these, let's make sure that the lock is on, and let's keyframe all of these. Then go to another frame like 72, and maybe pan out a little bit and do like this. Actually, no, not that. Let's keyframe both the rotation and translate. Let's go to frame 72. Let's pan out and pivot a little bit, and then hold Alt again and click. Once they are green, they're keyframed. It's gonna look like this. And right now there is some spline interpolation on these, so we can do the linear. Here we can see that we have the translate and the rotate. Actually, no, we only have the translate here. So if I select these and I go here to linear, and if I press Shift and click this, and I scroll out, and I scroll out some more, and here I select all of these curves and I put it to linear, we will get a linear interpolation between the keyframes, which works fine for these kind of single camera movements usually. So that's how that works with animating it. You can also do a look at, which means that if you put a null here in the center of your scene, and you put the null in the look at, the camera will always center on this null, which means that it will do like this instead of doing this, because now it's not in the center, right? But if I do recognize this null, it will center on it, which is cool if you want to center an object, or if you want to have some additional control which means that if you have the null here and you translate the null, you can offset the center. Regardless, you can also add a spline here, like a path object that your camera can be animated on. If I add a circle, let's delete these. If I add a circle here, if I go into the circle, I scale it up, I put it to an Z&X plane, I center it a little bit like this, scale it up even more. I put it to a NURBS Bezier curve, maybe. And then I can drag that into the path object. And we can see how I can now rotate on this path, basically. While I also look at the null. So I can create like these turntables and yeah. So that's just a couple of ways you can do to get these let's delete these, to get these kind of controls of your camera, basically. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to keyframe these, go to 72, pan out, keyframe, and let's play this. It looks like this. And now I'm going to go ahead and render these 72 frames. And I'm going to be back once I've done that. So one thing I was going to mention before I render it is that you can go to the out, you can go to the mantra, and to render a sequence of frames, you have to actually set the valid frame range from current frame to render frame range. And I want to render 1 to 72. And once I do that, to actually render this frame range, you can't really go to viewport, the render view, right? Instead, you have to go down here and click here and go to the mantra view and go to sequence, where it says sequence in parentheses afterwards. Because this one will still render only a single frame. This one will actually render the whole sequence. So let's go there, and I'll be back once that's finished. Alright, the 72 frames has finished, and it took about 2 seconds a frame, something like that, on a pretty low quality, but it looks like this. Very simple, but it's a sequence of renders, so sequence of frames. So yeah. Anyway, that's it for the camera part of this. I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Thank you.